Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Quantum Bridge with myself and with my co host, Gary. And today, again, we're incredibly fortunate to be joined by yet another new guest. Um, I'm trying to remember how best to introduce Benjamin Stone to you. I'm going to get this wrong, but he can then correct me. And maybe that's a nice segue into a very interesting area and world that Benjamin inhabits. So he's involved in quantum integrative medicine. And again, as I said, I've probably got that wrong. So I'm going to pass over to Benjamin to do a quick intro to himself. He's based in Ontario in Canada. So again, we're doing something across the pond with it, which is great too. So hi, Benjamin, and please do have a better stab than I did introducing yourself.
Hi, Gary and Casper. Thank you so much for having me. And you were accurate. It is quantum integrative medicine. I specifically am at Quantum University out of Honolulu, Hawaii, and I'm in a PhD program, and it's applying quantum physics to natural and integrative medicine. And it's a total different approach to the current allopathic model that at least the Western society has mostly embraced. And it makes it inclusive and scientifically validated to bring in things like homeopathy and Ayurveda, which is thousands of years out of India, and of course traditional Chinese medicine out of China and respectively Japan and the other Asian countries. And so that makes it really exciting because the model looks at the human body in a completely different approach. And it also allows us to integrate spiritualism into this. So that's that's a summary. I'm a quantum integrative practitioner now, so I don't have my doctorate yet, and I've been doing this journey of work for about a decade, and it has slowly changed over time from a more physical based or allopathic sort of medicine to a quantum approach. And what I mean by that is I've been more naturopathic in nature in this journey, and now we start to look at different principles and some of those modalities that I just mentioned to you.
Did you start with traditional Western medicine then, and then have you sort of changed along the way?
Yeah, so my family's in traditional medicine, and I was always, this is this whole programming as a child. I had this weird sort of a resistance. I obviously I'm programmed in that way to sort of see that system, and you'll find yourself in life sort of going along, so to speak, to get along. But the other side of me was very resistant to a lot of it because it just didn't make a lot of sense to me. I feel like I'm here in many ways to challenge systems, whether that's good or not. And so no, I didn't really. I actually started out in computer science and data network engineering, and a side gig of music. That was my creative side, and it was really a massive attack on my system of advanced stage cancer that made me go, what are my options here? And then I was extra faced with this resistance because it was like, well, this is where you're supposed to go, and i.e. allopathic medicine, cut, burn, poison, or we could just say it the way they would like it, and that is chemotherapy and surgery. And and whatnot. And I did start down that path, admittedly, but something just didn't feel right. So at the same time, I'm looking at Dr. Robert Young's book, The pH Miracle, or something like it's 15 years ago or something. I can't quite
It's to
remember.
do with the alkaline.
Alkaline, yeah, that's right. And because I was someone that, a little maybe too left-brained a lot of times, especially in the field I was in, although I would argue my intuition is strong and healthy. So I went down that road and I started saying, well, there's alternatives to this. And then when, allopathic medicine is saying, well, we can do further surgeries. You're never going to be able to use your left arm again. There's no guarantee on this. At best, right now, over 5 years, is like a 48% survival rate, and over a decade's 2%. My mind starts to go, I don't think I like this idea. And that's what, took me in this other direction. And, I healed myself through that approach, through the help of, we'll call it alternative or complementary medicine, as they like to call it. And that really just woke me up to say, not only did I have a sort of weird feeling about the system, but now I looked at it as this is just a big business, and people are driven purely by money. Now, don't get me wrong. We could go down any industry and it's kind of the same. Our whole world needs a little bit of an adjustment. But for me, that was the area. And so it drove me into, we'll say natural medicine. But it was still physical in nature because it was naturopathic. It was like, well, diagnose. Now we can use an alternative form to it. Yes, sometimes I may have to refer you out to an allopathic doctor. And of course, in our world, it's always, we're no good. The allopathic doctor is the god. But if you want to come to me for entertainment and failure, please do. But, and that, of course, upsets me, shall we say.
We never would have told. I mean, the reason that when Benjamin, by the way, we luckily Gary and I have already had an off-camera conversation with Benjamin, so I knew that although he was going to be talking about something that is incredibly serious, of course, a life-threatening illness is serious. I knew, because we've spoken about it before, that obviously Benjamin got through that, and the ways that he did, which were outside the allopathic system. It's lovely to see people. This isn't quite right when I describe or frame this as being as to do with you, actually, Benjamin. But it's lovely when you see people open up to other possibilities. And also, I quite like the fact that we do talk to people. Even we've got a quantum healer that we're speaking to who operates in a much more spiritual fashion in some ways. And even she is still involved to some degree in the allopathic system. I think it's very healthy to be willing to say that, look, you don't absolutely shut the door on anything. And in the end, we're all individuals. And despite what might be said about our body chemistry and whatever, we are all different, and we're all going to respond psychologically and physiologically slightly different to things. So I think it's rather beautiful, actually, that you can still say, look, there are bits from this aspect that I might still need to take, and bits from this. That is the opening, isn't it? That we're all looking for, the best of all possible worlds.
Yeah, ultimately that is essential, and I don't want to say the word fighting. We could almost, sort of activism, which is actually what drove me to say, well, I need to get a PhD because, in order to battle in this current world of linear credibility thinking, I'm going to need to, get on my medal of value in the old boys club of that space, right? And don't get me wrong, it's not that I knew everything, but I'm an eternal learner, so of course I would have continued to do that anyway. But you're right. We're just looking for humanity benefits by expansion and not just a linear expansion. To look in all, I mean, look at the world today. We won't go down that, but we can see there's a lot of, perhaps sketchy areas that we're going into that don't make a lot of sense, but it's still okay because we're unfurling something that's going to lead us to expand in another direction, change directions and whatnot. And so, yeah, but we need that space from an integrative medicine being, yes, allopathy may have its place at certain times, particularly emergency medicine.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
To me, but if you're looking to have prevention, you're looking to get to root causes, you're looking to change your life in such a way that it becomes more expansive and dynamic and less stressful, or to find those tools, then that's where I'm going to come in, right?
And even for that, the dangerous word hope, for example, when for example that whole area shuts down on you and says this is what's going to happen next, this ability to have that openness to say, okay, in that paradigm, that is what happens next, and maybe it is what happens next, but is there something else? Just that ability in people to make that cognitive switch to say, it's not my end. It might be what you're framing as my future, but it's not necessarily so. And there are so many people now who have been through these other more eclectic healings or curative, are we allowed to use the word cure? But anyway, other processes, and come out of it. The other key things are to come out the other side, and we do need to go more. It doesn't have to be on this particular recording, Benjamin, but I'd love to talk more about your history and all those battles you've overcome, because they are quite incredible. But just this ability to say there's a level of learning here, there's empowerment here, there's sovereignty here, and who knows what will happen. Well, we know what's going to happen to all of us on a long enough timeline anyway. So why not at least find ways to enjoy and grow from the process, no matter what might come out of it? And I think that you're a real example of somebody who said, well, actually, I'm not going to choose that outcome. It may be the outcome, but I'm not going to actually choose it.
Yeah, so that's for me, that's a really great segue to maybe just pop in one of the key differences between Newtonian, materialist, reductionist, allopathic medicine and quantum medicine. And so the first thing, because you said I made a choice, and one would say, especially from a Newtonian standpoint, they'd say, doesn't matter what you made as a choice. We're looking at the body as a machine, and here's what we believe or know, which of course is always in and of itself limited, because we know science is, really should be a debate. But this is their model. Quantum physics, consciousness is the ground of all being. Consciousness is primacy. So that's of all objects of experience, right? Whether it's, the self or, the subject and experiencer. So what that means is your consciousness has a choice between sensory material objects, vital energy, which again, we could go into those deeper things, but just go with me, vital energy, or mental meaning. And so because consciousness is primacy and chooses from that spectrum, it's called downward causation. We learned upward causation from Newtonian physics that says the atom becomes the molecule, becomes the, the organ, and so on and so forth, up to the brain. And then of course at the brain, any of these illnesses you have that they can't specifically put onto a some sort of data set mechanically is like, well, it's all in your head and we don't know. And then of course, spirit is this separate thing that's either vehemently opposed to, or it's like, well, I mean, I think it's almost like an internal, it's either innately internal or the fear aspect of humans that go, well, I'm going to believe in God just in case, you know. So that's their model. But then you come back to the quantum physics one, where the consciousness has infinite probabilities to choose from, is downward causation. So it comes down through what they call the 5 bodies of consciousness. And from those bodies, eventually it manifests at the physical. But wherever there's a distortion through any of those bodies is what's going to ultimately manifest downward. And so what I'm driving at is, we could say that once we get down to the brain, so vital body into the brain, and the brain's job is to make meaning of things. Once it hits that place, it then goes down to the organs, down to the molecules, down to the atom, down to the quanta. So while, you know, they're all looking at deep diving on genes and trying to alter the atom that must be causing the problem, energy creates matter. Matter doesn't create matter. Energy creates matter. So given that quantum physics is about this energy medicine from a perspective, then you're going to want to, I would be looking at, where is the energetic distortion that is altering that? Now, where can then we be integrative and say we still need allopathic medicine? Okay, well, you know, someone has come to me who has a diagnosed, visible through data, manifested illness, say cancer, heart disease, you know, one of these things we can definitely see something is there. Well, allopathic medicine may be needed or helpful, and I will include other physical medicine, you know, herbs, anything naturopathic in nature, may be needed to assist or palliate or, you know, uplift the physical body in that disease state, we'll call it. But in addition, this is where we can have better outcomes, is now we're working on the energetic bodies, mental, emotional, I'm just using more simple terms, but where those meanings come in and take place and alter the way that your cells respond. You've probably heard of Dr. Bruce Lipton, and, you know, so basically the environment is altering the outcome of the expression of, we'll call it, your genes and your cells. Epigenetics alters the way that the genetic expression is going to occur, as in there's no direct genes that cause cancer, but there are genes that are involved in it, sure, through a series of, you know, a perfect storm in a sense that creates a, you know, a metabolic dysfunction that leads to the cancer. So yeah, that anyway, that is a really, really fundamental valuable point there, because now it puts you back in the driver's seat, because consciousness is primacy in the creation of reality, period. You're creating your reality. And so allopathic medicine takes away, makes you a victim and takes you out of the equation to be able to do anything. And sure, I get it. Some people are going to say, well, you know, yeah, but you still died anyway from cancer. Yeah, granted, because there are other variables we don't know about. Like, I don't know, maybe there was some contract with God who's like, I'm going to bring him home so you all can go fight about figuring out how this works. I don't know, maybe that's it. Or maybe the person didn't fully embrace a quantum leap. They didn't embrace the potentiality of their being to make conscious decisions.
That's something I was going to actually ask Benjamin. With this kind of energy and quantum healing, how important is it for the patient, if we call that, to have a level of spirituality or consciousness for this to work? Does it just work on anybody, or do they have to sort of meet it in some way, whether it's a belief system or something?
Yeah, interesting. Okay, so there is not it's not like in allopathic medicine, it's like, well, take this pill and this is the outcome. That being said, a good majority of the pills that are given to the person is actually based on the belief system of what happens. Do they get the side effects? Do they get it to work? Does it not even work at all? Nocebo, placebo. So there's that, from their angle, is actually true. But if we take surgery and I cut you, that's happening. It doesn't matter what your consciousness is, it's happening. Now, it's not a belief system for someone to be like, well, I have to believe in a God, or I have to believe in quantum physics, except the fact that they do have to understand and believe, I guess, for lack of better words, that they are a consciousness and they are in control of the decisions they are making. And so it is absolutely essential for the outcome, and I would argue every day of the week that a vast majority of the results that happen for people in catastrophic events where allopathic medicine was perhaps somewhat helpful, I'm not trying to negate it, I'm really not, but where it would have been like, well, it's touch and go, and then they heal, or they overcome it, or they, they just go, wow, that doesn't even, we didn't see that coming. That was them embracing their consciousness, and they didn't have a belief system per se around it. Like, they didn't have to go and learn and say, oh, I need to believe that I'm going to get out of this. This was an awakening, that we might say, that they acknowledged and realized, oh, hold on, I am in control ultimately of my destiny. I didn't fall into fear and other energies and beliefs that shut off the immune system, for example. And they suddenly have this, this great healing. But yes, I'm not particularly convinced that spirituality is an essential of healing. But I think what I'm driving at here is that in some aspects of spirituality, if we want to take it from a religious standpoint, is there's a good chunk of people that also believe that it's an external thing. So like allopathic medicine, it's sort of mechanical, and then God's out here, and, oh, please, God, please help me and do something, and God doesn't, and you go, well, the hell, God, and like, I don't get it. And it's not like that. That's not actually the system. The system is, you're the consciousness tapping into the all that is that you want to call God. God's indifferent, frankly, in terms of whether you choose to go down this path or that path. It's where is your consciousness, and what do you want to do in the tapestry of this play on planet Earth to, expand your soul, so to speak. So that's where I sit on that. And certainly from a quantum physics standpoint, it supports that process. So yeah, if I'm initially working with someone who's completely like, they think they're just a mechanical body that got something, and and they have this, they might believe that there's an external, they're going to go to heaven, and they might have that belief system, or they may not at all. Yeah, I'm going to take them through that process to help them understand that you are the consciousness, and you have the ability to make choices, multiple probabilities. It's not just a simple conscious choice all the time. And, we can go down that path, not now, but we can go down that path with regards to, people doing meditation and hypnosis and Joe Dispenza's work and so on and so forth. You get into that space, and, you try to get into this quantum no space, this presence, and alter, the energy so that you can bring back a new reality. Well, that is a method. But the other fact that's so important from a neurological or neuroscience standpoint is the fact that you're programmed from 0 to 7, and all those programs are laid in there. And so 95% of the time, those programs are running that, and some of them are good for you for sure, and some of them are not. And Lipton would say, 60% of the programs that you downloaded are not beneficial to you. So this is where a program, someone I mentioned to you earlier, can come in and say, this is the pattern, I identify it. Let's tease out this pattern, have the subconscious remove it, upgrade you to the present that's not coming from an old space, right? Like, think about it. You want to write a piece on a topic today, and you go looking at books from the 1800s. Yeah, you might get some relevant stuff in there, but there's been a lot of upgrades in there. And so this is what we're doing in life. And so going back there and saying, okay, this one doesn't apply so well anymore, and we tease that out and we bring it up to a present vibration in the body, then that changes. And so now you start operating from this present moment all the time, and that then allows people to much more easily.
It's funny, Benjamin, we just had Jeff Thompson on the show, and before this recording will go out, one of those at least will be uploaded. Now, he has a background as all sorts of things, not least a bouncer or a doorman on a very rough nightclub, a martial artist, a BAFTA winning author, which means something in Britain. I'm not sure how much it means in North America, but anyway, he's one of his key areas is this thing of negating or moving on from old scripts.
Yeah.
Which is effectively what I think we're talking about here, that something or many things are running in the background, and they've been there so long, and they've become these belief systems, and we don't even know we're carrying them with us. So this thing of sort of one, maybe recognizing them, certainly altering them to serve us better. Right. I like the fact that you're sort of touching on this area, because it very much has parallels with these other somewhat spiritual conversations we're having.
Yeah, and I think ultimately what it offers you, it's beyond hope. It offers you a clear opportunity to make a decision where you are in control. It's not about the outcome. You need to surrender to whatever the outcome is going to be. Yeah. But when you're only told and given ultimately a half-truth, that is like, oh, you have this and that's it, there's nothing else we can do, therefore you're screwed, that is just, for me, criminal at best, because the science shows us, reality shows us, that there are, as they say, many roads to Rome. And I just would like people to, ultimately, it doesn't matter to me what you choose, but I'd feel so much better leaving this planet if I had been able to give sufficient enough people, or maybe the world, the opportunity to say, I'm in control of the decision I'm going to make. And so They may choose this, they may choose that, but at least they understood that they're conscious.
The other thing, I totally agree, and it's a lovely sentiment. But there's also this thing of having the choice and feeling empowered enough, one, to know that those other possibilities are there, because I think a lot of this is about actually accepting that there are other possibilities beyond that very myopic way that all of us, and look, while that was serving us, or we thought it was serving us, it was fine. But it is that Plato's cave sort of thing. It is very much like, look, oh, actually, there is this whole other, and maybe many other dimensionality here, dimensions, whatever, of experience, of possibility, all of these other things. And it is really about an openness, because obviously, I think I touched on it anyway, but I totally resonate with what you're saying about outcome. The outcome is in the lap of your God, whatever that may be for you, right? And ultimately, what will happen. But you can choose the expression that you have between the now and that point.
Yeah.
And there's something incredibly, I mean, I suppose ultimately it's what this whole show Quantum Bridge is about. It's this thing of just saying, look, you don't have to just think like this anymore. And it might be that you're seeing the cracks in the paradigm that was given to you anyway. And look what you could be enjoying on the way, even if the ultimate outcome for all of us is apparently very similar. Why not enjoy the journey?
Correct. Because I don't see the value anymore of living from a place of victimhood. Yeah, I'm in complete agreement with you that it served its purpose, and damn well we know a lot about the physical nature of things now. Great, that's awesome. But you're right, it is a new paradigm, and we need to explore it, because that's human nature. We do that. We'd be fools not to engage in those into other paradigms. And from a data set approach, are we doing better now? Like, are we going in a better direction based on the model we've been using? It's getting worse, and we keep doubling down, and like, oh no, we'll just keep doing the same thing. And that's the definition of insanity, for one, but it's not working, and that always confuses.
But the funny thing about that, Benjamin, is that, of course, reductivism, the next step in reductivism is going smaller. It's slicing the thing again and looking at that ever smaller until it is. And then obviously in the more spiritual or philosophical sense, you're peeling the onion. I mean, what are you going to end up with? You're going to end up with nothing or everything. And that's all we've ever had. Nothing or everything, or whatever might stand between those two. Gary, just before, I notice our time is not quite run out, but getting close. I'm conscious that this is an area that certainly energetically and on a soul level means a lot to you. I mean, is there anything else that you'd like? Hopefully we get Benjamin back, but in the meantime, is there anything else you'd like to touch on or ask?
Not particularly ask as such. It's just been interesting, I think, of where the world currently is, that we're all, I think, given an opportunity now to unravel these programs and be, look inward to what has been going on, and learning that we do have a choice, that we can say, well, I've been given this narrative or something, but that you are empowered to say, well, actually, I prefer this one, and I will make that decision. It's not predestined for me. I hope, I don't know how Benjamin feels about the collective, that we are learning that. It's a process. It's going to take some time, but for me, it's only been over the last couple of years where I've really started to grasp that knowledge. So hopefully we can leave on a positive point, I think. that the world is at least learning that, and hopefully will choose a good outcome.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think the collective consciousness will go there. It's the 100-month monkey effect.
Yeah.
And that can tie into things like what we might call non-locality or disentanglement or discontinuity. These are principles in quantum physics. So we're doing our thing. We spoke about this before the program started, and I asked you, why are you guys doing this? I'm just curious, right? And so ultimately, because you're doing that, and I get the opportunity to be on here, we are creating a ripple effect from our beingness, and we're all connected. That's a whole other story, but we're all connected anyway. And so when we put out this this vibration of this direction, we ultimately are hitting everyone else instantaneously around the world. And so for me, if you wanted to talk spirituality, you wanted to buy into the whole good and evil dualism, I think that's a combination between sort of the ego and staying in that closed space and then being open. And we're having this sort of battle, energetic battle, for lack of better words, that's permeated out throughout the consciousness. And I think ultimately we'll win because you know, it's time to go into a new paradigm, and this is a new growth, expansive energy. The other fear and everything, as you know, is all constrictive, and it never wins at the end of the day. I say wins just to fit into the dualism statement. But you know, to leave from my perspective of a sort of spiritual thing, you know, I was raised Christian, converted Catholic, and then I started experiencing the ability to do psychic mediumship. But I had no concept of quantum physics at that time. So I was very much, like I said to you, I'm over here in the logic standpoint, and I'm going, and over here, there's this weird stuff that most people are not going to embrace me because it's insane. And I even think maybe I'm insane, right? So I'm going through this. Quantum physics, I guess what I'm driving at, allowed me and would allow other people to bridge that all of this is interconnected. And so now I'm able to say, I understand why that fits in and why I may be able to read those energies and have a quantum bridge, shall we say, between, you know, the spiritualism and the physical reality. So
yeah, we didn't pay you for that, so it's nice all the same.
Maybe in the future we are. Maybe in another quantum universe.
That's right.
Okay, well, look, I think that was lovely. I hope that this is the first of a number, many, whatever it may be. And we'll leave that in the lap of the gods for now. But thank you very much, Benjamin. It's a real joy to have you on, actually. It's really a lovely, energetic experience as well. So hopefully you'll come back.
Yeah, absolutely.
For now, from me at least, I'll hand over to Gary. Thank you very much and hope to see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you, Benjamin. It's been great. We hope to see you again soon.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, both of you.
Bye.
From the Quantum Bridge for now. Quantum Bridge out.